Hi, this is Taryn Grome, editor of Pharma Voice. We met with numerous inspirational thought leaders at this year's DIA annual conference as part of our Editors Take video series. I hope you enjoyed this discussion.
In this episode, Taryn meets with Bruce Palsulik, Global VP of Product Strategy, Oracle.
Bruce, welcome to San Diego in the 2019 DIA conference.
Oh, thank you. It's very nice to be here.
You have an article in our June edition of Pharma Voice called The AI Revolution and Multivigilance. What are some examples where you think AI will be applied within multivigilance or pharmacovigilance within the next 3 years?
So I think what we see right now is that the pressures that are on pharma to comply with adverse event reporting regulations, is that what they're seeing is increased volume of adverse event reports, so things like patient support programs and such. And they're trying to manage that increased volume that continues to grow, anywhere from 10 to 25% case volume per year. And so in order to manage that increased volume, they're looking for ways of doing automation to help support that. And so towards that, we're building out a tool that's focused on the intake portion of processing adverse events. So that could be a structured form, adverse event collection form. It could be free text in an email and such. It could be a multitude of maybe it's coming over from the clinical side and such. And so if you can process and extract the information from those source documents and get it into the safety database sooner, then you can triage that sooner and reduce costs or handle or increase volumes that are coming in the future. Now, there's a lot of other areas that are sort of looking at that end-to-end case processing workflow, which are assessments that are being made or quality analytics and such. So maybe you want to identify, have we seen other similar cases related to that? Can we look at causality? Can we look at seriousness assessments and things? And so those are going to help automate some of the end-to-end processing and provide some increased efficiencies, quality, consistency and such over what's being done manually. So those are some of the areas.
Fabulous. Here's a big question for you. AI is everywhere. You can't pick up a magazine or a newspaper without reading something about artificial intelligence. Is pharma ready to adopt AI?
So I think right now we're having sort of the economic drivers are sort of forcing it. I would say that typically pharma is, at least from an IT perspective, is not always at the leading edge of supporting and implementing new technology, but I think they realize at this point that you can't just keep throwing more and more bodies at the same problems, and in order to handle these volumes that I've talked about, increasing case volumes, there have to be alternative ways. So certainly, traditionally they've gone from handling all the case processing in-house to outsourcing, and sort of the next step is, can you automate more of that, because there just aren't enough resources around the world to handle these volumes. So I think those have been driven by those business challenges, and also I think directives from more a strategic level, from a corporate level, chief information officers or are looking at applying data science and machine learning sort of across the spectrum, and I think they are now, where perhaps 2 or 3 years ago they would not have been able to. I think now, out of necessity and out of the practicality of what can technically be achieved today, I think they are ready to move forward.
Do you think we'll see increased adoption in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I think it's important to sort of look at small incremental wins. A lot of times people think, well, if I'm going to handle case processing, I need to handle 100% of the cases, or it's not going to be effective if I don't automate the entire workflow. And I think it's important to look for small little wins, small little victories that can, incrementally demonstrate value and also achieve a return on investment as well. So I do think that there are real use cases that we will see go into production, over the next 1, 2, 3 years. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Are you seeing any concerns or barriers to adoption? What are you hearing?
So I think in pharmacovigilance, obviously the two high priorities are regulatory compliance and patient safety. And so, I like to equate it about, incrementing, either upgrading systems or implementing new functionality is sort of like changing the tires on the car while you're driving down the road. So they have to meet the daily requirements, but they also have to allocate resources to move forward. So, part of it is you can get too caught up in the day-to-day work that they really have to allocate time in order to facilitate that. So a lot of it is, you get feedback, we don't have time to improve, or we only have a handful of resources who have the sort of strategic vision to drive these sort of initiatives within our customer base. And with that, if they're so caught up in doing the day-to-day work, it's hard to think more strategically. But there's never a good time, and you sort of have to make a commitment that you are going to try and improve the way that you currently operate today.
Excellent insights. Something that all leaders should be thinking about is to provide the right resources and enough time to think about the future.
Yes.
Do traditional approaches to implementing and validating systems work for AI and machine learning?
Right. So I think that is another concern that companies have, is that, how do I validate this for its use, to automate part of our processes? But they're also concerned from a regulatory standpoint that during an inspection, how are they going to justify, how they deployed an AI or machine learning type solution? So I think really right now it's looking at how you do things in a manual method, and humans are not infallible either. So do you really understand error rates? And obviously part of case processing typically is sort of quality review cycles as well. So it's no different if you're automating part of those processes to say the same sort of quality sampling and reviews are going to be done. What we've typically found when we've been doing sort of the front-end data science work to sort of evaluate what's already in a database that's been manually entered and can that be used for machine learning training, is that going through that process and scrutinizing it through this process, you're actually going to learn a lot about your quality and consistency of what you do manually right now. So even if you only started with that as a first phase, you're going to learn a lot about how you do it, and may even make improvements in the manual way as you move forward to implement automation and AI.
Thank you so much for sharing these fantastic insights about AI and how it's going to be adopted through the industry. And thank you so much for participating in our Editors Take Video program.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
For more information on this topic, visit our Thought Leaders website.
For more Editors Take Videos from the DIA Annual Conference, visit www.pharmavoice.com. Thanks for joining us.